Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Chris Weidenbach, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is leading seaman Bianca Lustuzzi. We are honoured to acknowledge General Sir Chris Deverell, Commander, Joint Forces Command, United Kingdom, Air Marshal Mel Hupfeld, Commander of Joint Operations Australia, and the accompanying delegation. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. In particular, we welcome members of the Kingston Beach RSL sub-branch who are joining us this evening. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors and by students on behalf of the following schools. From New South Wales, Central Coast Adventist School, Arena. From Queensland, Brookfield State School, Brookfield. And from Western Australia, Butler College in Perth. I now invite all who are able to please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Thank you. Students, you may be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's first World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway lands. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved. And here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Phillip James Hill. Phillip Hill was born in June 1898 in Burramun, Victoria, to Philip and Catherine Hill. He grew up in nearby Rutherglen, where he attended the local state school and went on to work as a farm and vineyard labourer. He was known in the district as a particularly fine shot and was successful in a number of local sparrow shooting contests. On the outbreak of the war, Hill was described as being a fine stamp of a young man, eager to get to the front as a volunteer. Hill and his older brother Mick enlisted around the same time in July 1915. Mick fell ill after only a few weeks in camp and died that October from cerebrospinal meningitis. Hill continued training and was posted to the 14th Battalion, leaving Australia for active service overseas in April 1916. Private Hill was first sent to England, where he continued training before being sent to France to join his battalion in July 1916. Shortly after his arrival, the 14th Battalion participated in the fighting around the French village of Possières. In September, the battalion was withdrawn and sent to a quieter sector of the line in Belgium. In mid-October, the 14th Battalion was holding part of the front line on Ypres salient. On the 16th of October, 10 days after the anniversary of the death of Mick Hill, the battalion war diary recorded a quiet day until about 6 p.m, when it came under shrapnel fire from the German artillery. 3 men were killed in action that day, one of whom was Hill. No record remains of the nature of his death, but his body was removed from the battlefield and buried in nearby Bedford House Cemetery. His remains lie there today under the epitaph, "God be with you till we meet again." Private Phillip Hill is also commemorated in the Carlisle Cemetery in Rutherglen on his brother's headstone. Their epitaph reads, "They gave their life, their all, in response to their country's call." Phillip Hill was 18 years old, his brother Mick 20. Their names are listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed by the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Phillip James Hill, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
we forget.
lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening.